suffers from yet another sell-off. The nation's top financial minds go to Capitol Hill for a look at the U.S. economy in the wake of the attacks. Are we in a recession? Tonight, an in-depth look at the state of our nation's finances, what a wartime economy could mean for you, and what could be next for the markets.
Plus, reports from NBC's David Gregory at the White House, Tim Russert and Jim Miklaszewski live from the Pentagon next.
This is CNBC's Business Center with Sue Herrera at the New York Stock Exchange and Ron Insana reporting tonight from Washington.
And good evening from Washington, everyone, where top economic officials today urged Congress to be cautious in stimulating the ailing economy. The Capitol Hill appearances by Federal Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan and Treasury Secretary Paul O'Neill came as a prelude to tonight's presidential address on the war against terrorism. I'm Ron Insana. My colleague Sue Herrera is at the New York Stock Exchange. Sue?
Good evening, Ron. And on Wall Street here today, it was another day of very heavy selling, driven by earnings warnings, massive layoffs, and uncertainty about military plans. For stocks, it was the fourth straight day to the downside. The Dow Jones Industrials plunged 383 points, or nearly 4.4%, the lowest close since October of 1998. And the NASDAQ index dropped nearly 57 points, or 3.7%, also the lowest close since October of 1998.
On Capitol Hill today, Alan Greenspan urged Congress to be cautious, saying it's far more important to be right.
The United States military has begun strikes against al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan. These carefully targeted actions are designed to disrupt the use of Afghanistan as a terrorist base of operations and to attack the military capability of the Taliban regime. We are joined in this operation by our staunch friend, Great Britain. Other close friends, including Canada, Australia, Germany, and France, have pledged forces as the operation unfolds. More than 40 countries in the Middle East, Africa, Europe, and across Asia have granted air transit or landing rights. Many more have shared intelligence. We are supported by the collective will of the world. More than 2 weeks ago, I gave Taliban leaders a series of clear and specific demands. Close terrorist training camps, hand over leaders of the al-Qaeda network, and return all foreign nationals, including American citizens unjustly detained in your country. None of these demands were met. And now, the Taliban will pay a price. By destroying camps and disrupting communications, we will make it more difficult for the terror network to train new recruits and coordinate their evil plans. Initially, the terrorists may burrow deeper into caves and other entrenched hiding places. Our military action is also designed to clear the way for sustained, comprehensive, and relentless operations to drive them out and bring them to justice. At the same time, the oppressed people of Afghanistan will know the generosity of America and our allies. As we strike military targets, we will also drop food, medicine, and supplies to the starving and suffering men and women and children of Afghanistan. The United States of America is a friend to the Afghan people, and we are the friends of almost 1 billion worldwide who practice the Islamic faith. The United States of America is an enemy of those who aid terrorists and of the barbaric criminals who profane a great religion by committing murder in its name. This military action is a part of our campaign against terrorism, another front in a war that has already been joined through diplomacy, intelligence, the freezing of financial assets, and the arrests of known terrorists by law enforcement agents in 38 countries. Given the nature and reach of our enemies, we will win this conflict by the patient accumulation of successes, by meeting a series of challenges with determination and will and purpose. Today we focus on Afghanistan, but the battle is broader. Every nation has a choice to make. In this conflict, there is no neutral ground. If any government sponsors the outlaws and killers of innocents, they have become outlaws and murderers themselves, and they will take that lonely path at their own peril. I'm speaking to you today from the treaty room of the White House, a place where American presidents have worked for peace. We're a peaceful nation. Yet as we have learned so suddenly and so tragically, There can be no peace in a world of sudden terror. In the face of today's new threat, the only way to pursue peace is to pursue those who threaten it. We did not ask for this mission, but we will fulfill it. The name of today's military operation is Enduring Freedom. We defend not only our precious freedoms, but also the freedom of people everywhere to live and raise their children free from fear. I know many Americans feel fear today, and our government is taking strong precautions. All law enforcement and intelligence agencies are working aggressively around America, around the world, and around the clock. At my request, many governors have activated the National Guard to strengthen airport security. We have called up reserves to reinforce our military capability and strengthen the protection of our homeland. In the months ahead, our patience will be one of our strengths. Patience with the long waits that will result from tighter security. Patience in understanding that it will take time to achieve our goals. Patience in all the sacrifices that may come. Today, those sacrifices are being made by members of our armed forces who now defend us so far from home, and by their proud and worried families. A commander-in-chief sends America's sons and daughters into a battle in a foreign land only after the greatest care and a lot of prayer. We ask a lot of those who wear our uniform. We ask them to leave their loved ones, to travel great distances, to risk injury, even to be prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice of their lives. They are dedicated. They are honorable. They represent the best of our country, and we are grateful. To all the men and women in our military, every sailor, every soldier, every airman, every Coast Guardsman, every Marine, I say this: your mission is defined, your objectives are clear, your goal is just. You have my full confidence, and you will have every tool you need to carry out your duty. I recently received a touching letter that says a lot about the state of America in these difficult times. A letter from a 4th grade girl with a father in the military. As much as I don't want my dad to fight, she wrote, I'm willing to give him to you. This is a precious gift, the greatest she could give. This young girl knows what America is all about. Since September 11, an entire generation of young Americans has gained new understanding of the value of freedom and its cost in duty and in sacrifice. The battle is now joined on many fronts. We will not waver. We will not tire. We will not falter. And we will not fail. Peace and freedom will prevail. Thank you. May God continue to bless America.
In a speech unimaginable less than a month ago, the President of the United States, George W. Bush, has formally told the country that an attack has been launched on both terrorist camps inside Afghanistan and military installations in that country as well. He provided no specific details of what is being targeted, or at least the specific targets, just the general view of it all. He did indicate that British forces are involved as well. We expect to hear from the British Prime Minister, Tony Blair, momentarily. First, we'll go to Kamal Haider of CNN, who is in Afghanistan. Kamal, if you can hear me, what are you hearing? What are you seeing?
Basically, we are still a little bit far from the city of Jalalabad, but our man in Jalalabad tells us that
his belief and assertion that anybody who does not join the United States in the fight against terror will in fact be considered an enemy on the other side. He said they will take that lonely path at their own peril. Once again, the name of this operation is Enduring Freedom. The President has committed troops to Afghanistan. Within the last hour, we've seen a series of explosions in the capital city of Kabul. We're also told that Kandahar, a large city within Afghanistan, which originally was the home of the Taliban.
Prime Minister Tony Blair of Britain expected to speak as well. British troops are also apparently a part of this opening round. NBC correspondent Kerry Sanders is in Afghanistan. Kerry, what do you see from your perspective?
Well, Lester, I'm not sure we can make out much of what we're looking at. You're looking at a night vision lens on a camera here, pointing out about 12 miles in the direction of one of the fronts here with the Northern Alliance along a front that has actually moved back and forth with
tanks all under the control of the Taliban. Those, we are told, are also being hit this evening. And as far as the humanitarian drops that will happen during daytime, the Pentagon has identified 3 very clear areas where there are hundreds of thousands of refugees. This would be in the southwest part of Afghanistan near Herat, the southeast near Kabul. There's an arc of about 1 million refugees. Well, the Pentagon's not going to go into the details as far as exactly where the humanitarian flights are going to be going during the daytime, but they are pointing out that it will be extensive. So again, just to reiterate, the types of forces being used, we're being told a very heavy bombardment of cruise missiles from the aircraft carrier battle groups, the USS Carl Vinson and the USS Enterprise, which are in the Arabian Sea just south of Pakistan. We're also being told that F-14s and F-18s from those carriers dropping guided bombs on some of the urban targets, and that cruise missiles slamming into some more of the solid targets, such as the Taliban headquarters. We're also now being told, Tony, and just to update everybody, that we're going to be having a briefing here at the Pentagon in a half an hour, and the Secretary of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld, will be leading that briefing. So a briefing by the Secretary of Defense now in a half an hour, as well as the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Richard Myers, is the newly installed Chairman, Air Force General. He will be at that briefing as well. Tony?
All right, David, while I talk, we're going to show you a little video from Al Jazeera, that is the Qatar news agency that has provided some footage out of the Afghan capital of Kabul. There you see it's basically dark in the capital there, occasional flashes of anti-aircraft fire. And I'm going to bring in for further conversation retired Air Force General Thomas McInerney, who's been listening and can make a lot more sense out of what David Schuster has just told us. But before I do talk to you, I also want to mention, in addition to hearing from Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld,
been telling a news conference just a few hours ago that he expected an attack by the United States was imminent, was soon, very soon. What is your reaction now, initially?
I was right. It started at 9 p.m. this evening, and few cities in Afghanistan, the Taliban bases as well as terrorist camps were hit.
Can you be more specific about which cities were hit?
Kabul city. First, the anti-aircraft weapons were hit.
We have confirmation on that.
Yes, Kabul radio and Kabul airport. Then at the same time, Jalalabad, where at least three of the terrorist camps are located, were hit. And Kunduz in northern Afghanistan, where there is a major air base for the Taliban. Farah in western Afghanistan, Kandahar, which is the birthplace of Mullah Omar, in the place where Osama bin Laden has been living for so long in the past few years. And there are a few terrorist camps over there as well. These cities were hit.
What sort of coordination is there going on right now between the United States and your forces?
We are in constant contact.
Can you say any more than that? Because we did hear about an hour and a half ago, we heard what you described as a rocket attack by your forces on a buildup of Taliban forces not far from here, the front line being about...
Going to the Uzbekistan-Afghanistan border. It seems like a mystery right now. Perhaps they're in the wrong place. We've just heard from the Taliban Foreign Ministry. They are confirming a part of what